Hello, thanks for joining us today. This is going to be episode 4 of BCBA with Tay. Today is a special story. I'm calling it the Adam story. You guys have heard me talk a lot about Adam already, and he's kind of the reason as to why I ended up in the field and the career that I'm in. The reason why I'm doing this entire podcast. So I thought it would be fitting for my very first guest to be my mom. So with us today, we have Bethany Fonz, and she's going to give us the Adam story. So, Mom, if you could just start us off, can you tell me anything that you want to share just overall about you, who you are, and anything that you want to share just getting us started about Adam?
Well, it's been 42 years with Adam, and I will say most emphatically that Adam has made a huge difference in our lives and um, continues to teach us more than we can ever teach him. He is precious, as you know. Um, we are continually amazed by him, and even at 42 and with autism, he continues to learn and grow. And yeah, what a journey, as you
He's a
know.
great guy.
He
Yeah,
is, for sure.
yeah, for sure, a journey. So this mini series that I'm doing, last couple of episodes, I talked about early signs of autism, and then I kind of walked through the diagnostic kind of journey for our parents. Like, how do they get a referral? What can they expect from the diagnostic experience? So I'm sure that if you're willing, I'll have you back several times to talk about different aspects of Adam and kind of our journey with this. But today I really want to focus on like the earliest parts of
Sure.
his life and getting the diagnosis and all of that to help other families. What I'm kind of hoping to do is create a timeline. So Adam is probably one of the most, like the oldest individual that I know personally that has autism. And so one of the first ones diagnosed as well that I am familiar with. So I'd love to be able to kind of build a timeline of what did it look like 40 years ago when he was first diagnosed. And then, as I build more episodes, maybe we'll talk about some more current things. So we'll start off with, when did you notice early signs for Adam?
Um, I'm trying to think back, and as I told you earlier, my memory's not very good, and this was a long time ago. Um, Adam's the pregnancy was fairly uneventful from what I can remember. Um, and the beginning of the delivery um, was a bit traumatic back then. We didn't do medication, we didn't do epidurals, we didn't do any of that. So, it was very stressful. When Adam was born, the cord was wrapped around his neck several times, and they had to work on him for quite a little bit to get him going. Um, in the hospital, I do remember we tried and tried and tried. The nurses were so good, tried to get him to nurse. I wanted to nurse him. That had been my goal from the very beginning. That's what I wanted to do. And we knew it would be best for him. And we tried and tried, worked with some different specialists. Then would come in every day and we'd work and work on it. And the problem was that Adam would not suck. He wouldn't even suck on a normal pacifier. And so the nurses made a special pacifier just for Adam. Um, Now, I don't know how much detail you want me to give you, but then as we go on, um, as Adam, he was just a precious, precious baby, the cutest little thing. He was just precious. But at about a year old, um, I remember distinctly Adam's first birthday, and that he screamed the entire time. We had a house full of people, friends, family that were there to come to see Adam because they loved him and wanted to celebrate. And by that time, we were kind of getting into he'd like certain foods for a while, and then he didn't like them anymore, which I mean, that can be normal, as you know, with most kids. Um, his first birthday was a marker for me because he just screamed the whole time. And now that I know what I know, he may have been very overstimulated. There was a lot of noise, a lot of activity, but it was very disturbing, shocking. We were very confused. We didn't know what was going on. So then there were things like I could leave Adam sitting in the middle of a room with a piece of yarn, or he'd sit there for a long, long time. And I just knew, as a mom, sometimes you just know something's just not right. Um, and Adam would be very satisfied just to sit and spin a piece of yarn for a very long time. If I wanted to, I could go take a shower and come back and be in the same spot, rolling the piece of yarn. Um, just things like that. So at about 18 months is when I pushed. I just knew something was right. So, um, did you want me to go into the visit with his? I don't know whether they called him a pediatrician back then or if he was just
Like a
GP.
family
I don't know.
doctor.
I don't remember. Do you want me
Yeah.
to go in? Okay.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. Took him into his doctor. Gave him kind of the basics, what I was seeing, what we were seeing, and I remember him telling me that he would outgrow it.
And this was
And
at 18 months.
it was
About
before
that.
that. It was
Okay.
I'm going to
Okay.
say around a year, a little after.
Okay.
Um, I just started really questioning and pushing, asking the doctor a lot of questions, and he pacified me by we did EEG. Am I thinking
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Brainwave.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I don't really remember the results of that. I didn't hear anything about that, or don't remember hearing about it until later when we go into the heavy testing. But anyway, I
Yeah.
remember sitting in his office, and I'm surprised to remember, but he said, he'll probably just outgrow it. Probably, nothing. He'll probably just outgrow it. So he didn't. And somehow we eventually, I think it's because we got him started at Carry Services, and
Okay.
we started working on some things there. And honestly, I don't remember what age it was, but somehow we ended up down at IU Med Center. So I don't remember if we got a referral or, but we ended up in at IU on campus. We spent the weekend there, and they had a research group, an autism research group. Uh, Now that I look back on it, that was unheard of. That I mean, it just didn't happen.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
there wasn't a lot of autism around. Um, so anyway, we had a quite a group of people, therapists, physical therapists, occupational therapists, just probably 15 people that were involved in this, and they were truly wonderful. Um, my sister went down with me. We stayed in a little apartment. They put us up in an apartment, and we went through several tests. And Adam, and at this point, he's about 18 months, I'd say, uh,
Okay.
18, 18 to 20 months probably. Um, and we started the process, and they spent 2 days with him doing physical testing, mental, cognitive, and then I can't believe it, fine motor skills,
Hmm.
testing, that kind of thing. And finally, at the end of the weekend, we sat around this big conference table in the room, and they said, "We think we know what's going on." And they said, "We believe it's autism." I knew nothing about autism, had no idea. I was stunned. They were like, "This is nothing you've done. This is, just something that we're seeing. It's happening." Um, yeah, so that's how that came about. Um,
Do you remember like how you were referred to Bloomington by chance? Like, was
I
it your
don't.
doctor that finally agreed with it, or was there some
I
kind of screening or something that maybe they said, "Oh, he tested on this. Maybe you should go down and see this team," because the team didn't know that he had autism. So
no.
was there some kind of screening maybe?
And maybe the EEG had something to do with that. Maybe it came back.
Okay.
There was something there, but I think it's interesting that I ended up down there because this was in
Yeah.
Huntington. Adam was born in Huntington, Indiana.
Yeah.
Small town medical facility, small
Mhm.
hospital. Hospital's not even there anymore. Um, that very good question. I don't remember, and his dad probably does remember, maybe,
Okay.
or my sister may remember as well.
Yeah.
She
Yeah,
she
we
might
can check in
remember
with them
those
and see if they
details.
remember.
Yeah.
Okay. So back then, at least with this specific group, diagnostic testing was like a 2-day experience. They had multiple practitioners. It sounds like
Yes.
probably OT, speech,
Yes.
probably
Yep.
pediatricians, potentially neurologists.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
okay. Lots of specialties involved. And they did 2 days of testing. And then
Yeah.
they gave you the results at the end of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We did.
Wow.
And
Okay.
yeah, honestly, they, as wonderful as they were, there was no, and maybe that's what you're coming to. There was no
Yeah.
direction.
Yeah. That's about what I was going to ask is what were the
Go ahead.
recommendations? What did they say at the time of the appointment? They just said it wasn't your fault, which is great because right around that
Right.
time is when we were kind of changing from the point
Yeah.
of view that it was something that the parents had done wrong, and so now they had just started kind of coming out of that. But what were they recommending for you? Anything?
They truly, uh, and I don't feel any, they truly didn't know what to tell me. They
Yeah,
suggested I go back to his physician with the results. And I think I know that Carrie Services was involved in this at some point, but I don't remember um, if it was before, during, after. I don't remember. And maybe that's we ended back in with Carrie Services with the case. Then we ended up, with the caseworker filing for different things. Yeah.
okay.
So yeah.
And for those people not familiar with Carry Services, it's like a state funded um, facility, but they provide adult services. I think they provide like first steps. Is that maybe what he was getting?
Yeah. Yes. Thank you
Okay.
very much. That is
Okay.
correct. It was first steps. Yep.
Okay, yeah,
Yep.
First Steps has been around for a while. So
Yep.
I wonder if they did some kind of screening for you to kind of get him in the Bloomington testing process,
It's
maybe.
very possible.
Okay. So
And
then,
Jennifer may even know something. She may even remember.
yeah,
Jennifer Reamer. Hmm.
his current like case manager. Um, yeah. So at the time of the diagnostic evaluation, assured you it wasn't your fault, gave you the diagnosis, and then kind of just said, go back to your pediatrician, continue with Carrie if possible. Were there other services available for him at that time that you knew of, like before school or outside of school?
Um, Not really. I mean, the first steps was great. They helped with potty training and that kind of thing. Play, they did a lot of, just play. But I
Yeah.
don't. I just don't think people were. I don't want to say not educated because it was a fairly new thing that we were starting to hear about.
Yeah.
But there just wasn't much help. And then we ended up. He was in school with Park. He actually went to a preschool in Marion. They were wonderful with him. Um, he was able to get through that fine. He did well. People were great. And then he ended up at Park schools in Fairmount, and he was in different classes, and ended up down the road in like social skills class, and
Mhm.
they tried to. Maybe I need to wait on that. The schooling thing is a little when he's a little older.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah,
There's a lot of years to unpack for Adam.
yeah. There's a lot.
A lot of different
Yeah,
milestone moments.
yeah.
Do you remember whether he ever had speech therapy either after, because they age out of first steps usually around 3. I don't know if that was the case then or not, but I just wondered how accessible maybe speech therapy was to him when he was really little, either before first steps or afterwards, or even at school when he was younger.
I truly don't remember.
Okay.
Amazingly, Adam's speech came along pretty quickly. It kind of came to a halt right there around 18 months, kind of stopped, and
Hmm.
but then Adam became very verbal, as you know. Um, So speech was never really an issue, and I don't even remember him being really Dutchy or anything like that. So
Yeah.
it it wasn't really an issue. He's always been
Yeah.
fairly verbal.
So as far as like communication skills, he's always been able to tell you kind of his wants and needs. As far as like socially, how did you notice that he was different from the other children socially when he was really young, like preschool age or even early elementary?
Well, I will correct you on one thing. Adam has not always been able to tell me give us his wants and needs. That is
Yeah,
something we had to work really hard. There were many, many years there where we didn't know if Adam was in pain, whether he had a headache, whether he because he didn't feel the cold, he didn't feel the heat, so
yeah,
there was a lot of guessing going on.
yeah.
Um, that was something that we worked on through that. Now I don't remember your question.
It's
Speech
okay.
therapy, no, no, but I forget what you asked me.
I don't remember either, to be honest. So it's okay. We
Oh,
just keep
we were
moving
talking
on.
about his expressing his wants and his needs.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, we
and
don't
if
have much
he
trouble with that now.
right, if he, I think the original question was if you noticed any social differences for him.
Yes, right. Um, yeah, he. I mean, he's always been somewhat social, very bright-eyed. It really wasn't until puberty set in that we really started noticing a lot of things, a lot of social things. But for the most part, Adam was his mood was good. He just wasn't good at play. He would rather play with, like I said, simple things, just piece of string, or he didn't really necessarily want to play with other kids. He would rather just do his own
Mhm.
thing. Um, yeah, I mean, there were some things, but honestly, it really didn't. Um, we didn't really see too much until, like I said, he got older into
Yeah,
junior high teenage years.
yeah.
Yeah.
Besides his like first-year-old birthday or one-year-old birthday, did you notice anything as far as like sound sensitivity or things like that when he was really young?
Yeah, I would now at the time though, I may not have known what it was.
Yeah.
I would say, yeah, Adam would be very sensitive to loud noises and um, crowds, a lot of people. Um, like I said earlier, as he got older, he became more anxious, anxiety kind of set in. Um, yeah.
Okay. What about ritualistic, rigid behaviors, things that had to be the same, or things like that when he was younger? I'm clearly well aware of those things now that he's older, but when he was really young, did he have any like routines or ritualistic things? Did you have to drive a certain way to get somewhere? Did you have to, go a certain way in the grocery store or anything like that that you can remember?
Honestly, when he was little, no.
Okay.
I just and maybe his dad would correct me, but he was just a fairly easy baby unless there was crying and things. Um, but that happens with every
Yeah.
young child. I didn't mention we did have to take him back to the hospital for testing because he was projectile vomiting, and
Mhm.
we were checking him for lower stenosis. I think we had
Yeah.
Ross
Yep.
tested for that. Um, so he had a milk allergy there for a while.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was something that just kind of clicked. But really, I don't remember a lot of that kind of thing until, like I said, later on, until I got older.
Yeah. Okay. What about like pacing, flapping, rocking, those kinds of things, like the physical stereotypy, any kind of motor stereotypy or visual when he was younger?
Um, Definitely some rocking. Um, I knew, I when on the floor, if he's sitting on the floor playing, there would be the rocking and starting to um, mimic um, other sounds or words or behavior. Gosh, I'm just trying to think. I do remember as he got a little older and was in a special class with all special needs kids. we ended up having to remove him because he was taking on their behaviors. And I could tell it was progressively getting worse, and he was taking on their behaviors and things that habits that they were doing. And so we ended up mainstreaming him because I could tell the difference. It was the best thing we did was to put
Yeah.
him in mainstream. Yeah. So
You could.
yeah, there were some things that we started noticing.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about any developmental milestones that you remember him not hitting the way that he should have hit when he was really young?
Um, Specifically, no. I think probably progressively, um, he wasn't hitting milestones, and by the time we got to um, IU, they also diagnosed him as MMR. At the time,
Hmm.
is what they referred
Yeah.
to it as, mildly mentally. Yeah.
Mhm.
So we knew that that was there pretty early on. Um, we knew that that was a possibility with the cord, not having oxygen for several
Yeah.
minutes. So, yeah,
It's interesting that even without all the diagnostic tools and things that we have today, without him being, without his autism being as profound as it could have been, especially without other resources and things like that, they were still able to diagnose him 40 years ago.
yeah, it was the hand of God.
Yeah.
I only by the
Yeah.
grace of God. I really think I, and I give myself a little credit. I pushed. I knew there was something wrong, and I wasn't going to settle for he's just going to grow out of it.
Yeah.
I knew that there was something not right. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm very, very thankful for that heads up that early on. That's kind of unheard of, really.
Yeah. At 18 months back then.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah. And even being able to get into a diagnostic appointment truly
Yep,
is just a miracle.
yes.
When you came back from that testing and you were like talking to your family and friends about it, had they heard of autism? What did they say in response to that? Were they familiar with it?
Honestly, I don't remember. Um, I'm sure it was traumatic.
Hmm.
Um, I don't really remember. I know mom, grandma, and grandpa were very, very supportive.
Yeah.
Um, Always were. Um,
Well,
I
grandma was
don't
a
really.
teacher. She
Yeah,
might have worked with kids at
yeah,
school that either, appeared like Adam, even if they
yeah,
didn't have that diagnosis at that time. She was
right.
probably familiar with kiddos that were
Yeah.
similar to Adam.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, from what I can remember, everybody was very, very supportive, but
Hmm.
I don't remember if people knew what autism was. I don't remember.
Yeah. Yeah, and now I feel like everyone is familiar with at least the name of autism. They kind of know our awareness has really increased, but back then, I'm sure it wasn't very widely known.
Right. Yeah.
What advice would you give other parents that are going through this process or are noticing early signs of autism?
Push. Don't take no for an answer. If you don't get the answers that you want in the first people you go to, try again. Don't give up. Um, the other advice is that I would give is to, as they grow older and you are starting to experience some things, is to never take it personally. That was a big, big lesson for me. Um, don't take it personally. Just keep fighting through. Um, they are precious and very capable of learning and understanding. You get the right people like you um, involved, and it's a wonder what things can change and get better. Don't give up. Don't give up.
Yeah, love that advice. Anything that I didn't ask that you were wishing I had asked?
Hmm.
Anything else you want to share before we wrap up?
I'm sure there'll be things after when we're done that I'll think of. Oh,
Yeah.
I wish I had said that, but um, I don't know. I mean, it's autism is a life. I mean, it's a lifelong pursuing of what is best for your child, and the goal will always be to help him live his best life, help
Mhm.
him be as independent and strong as possible, capable as possible to do anything he can for himself. That's always the goal for
Yeah.
Adam. Find good support, find families, friends, church, people who are on the same page and support you, and you're going to
Yeah.
need it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate you joining me on here today. It was a special episode. Excited to get this
Absolutely.
published for everybody, but I'm sure that I'll have you back in the future if you're good with it.
I would love
Um,
to.
I'd love to have Adam on here really soon too. I think
Yes.
everybody would love to meet Adam, as we've talked
Anytime.
about him so much. So now that we
He
know
would
that
love
this
it.
will work, he'll sit here. I think if I can get him on a chatty night, he'll talk to me quite a
Oh,
bit.
yeah.
So
And we can gauge that. We can kind of see where he's at. But I think it
yeah,
would be great. It
yeah,
would be great. Yeah,
I think he'll enjoy it too. He
I
can
think
talk
so too.
silly. Be great.
All
All
right.
right. Well, thanks
Happy New
again.
Year.
And
All right.
thanks everybody
Thanks,
for
Sarah.
joining us. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Hope you found it helpful. As always, if you have other questions or things that you want me to cover, please drop them in the comments. Happy to do my best to address those. Have a great night. Bye,
All right.
everybody.
Thanks. Bye bye.